Thank you for joining me for another how-to video. First of all, I want to thank you for the support, the positive comments, and for all those people that have joined the Discord. We've got a pretty large crowd there now. And if you want to be a part of that, make sure you look in the description of this video and you'll see right at the bottom a link to join our Discord. It's free, it's easy to use, it's a great place that throughout the week you can ask questions and give feedback on various things that I say in my video, or perhaps you have a question related to a project that you're working on. It's an excellent place to ask. Also, you can go and look at my Patreon. I have a $1 tier if you just want to say thank you if you found this video helpful in whatever you're doing. Or you can go and support me in a monthly effort to purchase more assets so I can do more videos. So thank you for taking the time, and let's get to the video. Today I want to take you through the process of implementing the footprint system on the Unreal Marketplace. This is one that's a very good price. It's $4.99 currently. I don't know if this will ever change, but at the time of the recording of this video, it's $4.99 on the marketplace. It's a footprint system by Jonas Richards, and also combining that with the Advanced Locomotion System, which was previously, this past month, since the recording, was on the free items on the marketplace. And so a lot of people will have that. I've done a number of other videos previous to this on implementing various systems into the Advanced Locomotion System. So this time I figure it would be helpful. There is a basic footprint sound system in ALS, but you can get something that's much more flexible with this footprint system. And so we'll go through how to get that implemented so it works perfectly with Advanced Locomotion. When you install Advanced Locomotion, it will have you create a project. That will require you to put all the files into a folder. You can put it on your desktop, wherever you want to store it. But when you install the footprint system, it has you add it to a project. So you can add the footprint system to the ALS project, and it will pop up something saying, to do this, you need to overwrite the files. That is going to kind of change things from what you thought they were supposed to look like inside of ALS. And you'll notice here that there are two folders, or two uProject files in the folder now. There is the one for footprints, which I am not going to use, so I'm going to delete that. And then there's the one that I created for ALS. I just call it Loco Footsteps for mine. Whatever your project happened to be named, that's fine. But let's go ahead and open up the ALS version of the project. Now in the system, we will go through and look at implementing various sounds, and we can add more material types, but it will start you out with a basic little demo room of the footprint system. Let's go ahead and hit play. And I'll turn this up for a second and I won't talk so you can hear the different sounds of this system. So as you can see, it leaves various footprints in the background, and depending on the material type, some of them, like the blood, will look a certain way. You can see that there's a wetness effect with the water footprints, that with the right light, it has a really nice look to it. You'll have the muddy footprints, which will be darker, not as transparent as the water footprints, but and a little bit of shine to it still. And then sand footprints. Now you can see that on the material itself, it leaves behind a footprint. And then there's a footprint left behind that is not as really reflective that I can tell for the sand. So, so that is the default setup. And today we'll go through, we'll improve some of the materials and we'll improve the sounds that go along with them. and have something I think that you'll be proud of by the end. So also, I just wanted to note, I did install the free game materials that are on the marketplace, and that is here. Game textures is what it is. It's free game textures that are available. I installed that just so I could swap out and have grass and some things so visually you can tell what I'm walking on. And then I also will be showing you where to go and get some free sounds so that you can have improved sounds inside of here that sound more realistic than the ones that are default with this system. Let's go and get started. We need to first look at the different skeletons, because initially these will have their own skeletons, and we want to swap these so that it's using one skeleton. We need to get there's some sockets in this default one. We want to get those into the Advanced Locomotion System. And the reason that I go to Advanced Locomotion System is because there is a special setup with virtual bones that are causing the IK, the inverse kinematics, to work inside of ALS. If you do it the other way, there's a good chance you're gonna have to rework. At some point, I will probably do a separate video that is how to use another skeleton and move the ALS system over to that skeleton, but that would be a little video by itself, since it's not particular to any certain asset that you're going to be merging into. It would be more of just fixing the IK on ALS if you've ever changed the bone setup. So let's go ahead and start by, first I have under Advanced Locomotion V3, which is the default folder for ALS. There's a characters and then mannequin. You can see the ALS skeleton there. I'm also going to go into the footprint folder, and we need to go to the, let's see. I'm going to find, because I'm not seeing the folder, that it's not a normal folder. So I'm going to go ahead and filter this really quick. If you're ever trying to find a skeleton, you can't find what folder it's in, just go to animation. You click the filters here, go to animation, and then you can see a skeleton. So he doesn't put it in the footprints folder. He actually has a third person folder here that he stores all this content in. So this is going to be under character and then mesh. I'll undo that filter so we can see it. Let's go and open up the footprint system mannequin and skeleton, just so you can see what that looks like. It's the normal bones, all except for these two sockets. So this is the standard UE4 mannequin. And then he has a socket for the one that attaches to the foot left, and then one to the foot right. And what these are doing are, they'll be doing traces from these two that are detecting what material you're standing on. So that's why we need to make sure we maintain those. In ALS, just as a refresher, let's go and open up that skeleton really quick. You can see the main thing in here are those two virtual bones, one going from the left thigh to the left calf, and one going from the right thigh to the right calf, which IK uses to properly have your foot go down. So let's go ahead and close those. Actually, before you close that, let's just make sure in the retarget manager now I'm still in the footprints mannequin. If we go to the retarget manager, you need to select that rig and choose humanoid rig, because the humanoid rig is going to map the various bones. They should be all the default names, but it says, okay, this bone matches up to this one. It looks at the names and makes sure that Unreal understands what each bone is. It's not making an assumption, so you can map those there. So hit save, close that. And then we need to go to make sure you're in the folder for the footprints. So the third person BP character mesh. Right click on that skeleton and retarget to another skeleton. Because we chose the humanoid rig in that retargeter, we'll be able to select this. If we wouldn't have chosen that, it would not show it here, and you'd have to figure out why it's not showing up. So I now have two identical looking meshes side by side, and we'll retarget that. This has now added the two sockets to the ALS skeleton. You can see it's made a change to that. I'm going to hit save. We'll go and open that up really quick just so you can see that it actually is there with the two sockets. You have a left and a right footprint socket. Go ahead and close that. And now what we can do under third person character mesh, we can delete that UE4 mannequin skeleton. It's going to say here that this skeleton is this skeleton here is requiring it's using this skeleton at the moment for this mesh. And so what we want to do is, you could even just delete this one, but look at what it's going to do. It's relying on these other ones. So you want to do them in one step, just because we would want to swap out that mesh separately in this third person character blueprint. So go ahead and cancel out of that. Just hit delete on the skeleton. We'll swap this out really quick. Select ALS and replace references. Hit save. We're going to refresh and right click and fix up those redirectors. And then save all. Should be good there. Now we're going to delete this mannequin that is here. And this is under the third person BP character mesh. Delete that. Now it's going to swap out the one that's in the footprints blueprint. So select that mannequin and replace references. Go ahead and save that. And then always fix up redirectors after working with skeletons at all, and save all. And then we can delete that physics asset. There's nothing that should be using that anymore. Go ahead and fix up the redirectors there, and then we can delete that folder. As far as materials, if you go to the character and the materials, we shouldn't be using any of these anymore. So you can hit delete on that whole folder and confirm it. Fix up redirectors one more time, and then textures. Let's go and delete that. Now, fix up redirectors just to make sure, but it should let you delete the character folder as well. Now that we've done that, let's go and hit play and let's see what we notice. All right, so that's probably not as intended. You can see that the feet are not lifting off the ground, and that is because the IK is not properly set up on this character. It's not using the proper anim BP. It's not able to lift its feet up off the ground. If you disabled post-processing in that mesh, it would run like normal, but we want to actually implement the ALS system so that IK works properly. Let's open up first under third person BP, the blueprints. You have your third person character, and this is going to have all of the code for the footprint system. Let's go ahead and go to event here, and you can see there's the gamepad inputs. There's the mouse inputs, which are very generic and plain, jumping. There's nothing too fancy in these. This is a good thing because we will be able to pretty much copy just the important code over to ALS, and we don't have to worry about merging a bunch of these items. So that simplifies the process quite a bit. But we do need to take note of a few things that are unique about this particular blueprint. And that's, first, there's a component. There's a footprint component that is directly related to the system. Under class settings, you notice that there's an interface, a footprint interface, that we are going to have to pay attention to and make sure we add. There are a few variables. Mainly the one that we're going to look at is the current footwear. The rest of these are not really as important. There's a reference to the footprint component that we added. The other ones, I don't know that we're necessarily going to have to use those in the system. So let's go ahead and open up now the ALS blueprint. So Advanced Locomotion V3 blueprints. Let's open up the ALS based character. Now it's going to complain because we aren't using the default setup from the Advanced Locomotion System. It's using the footprint system. So if you go now looking at these errors down here below, they're all dealing with inputs. So we can go to edit project settings. And then we want to look at the inputs. So in here we have a basic jump and the movements and the mouse movements. So those are very basic, the minimum inputs that you would need. But what we're going to need to do is add some of these. We can just add a bunch of them from the Advanced Locomotion System. And so what I'll do is bring a little window here to the side so that I can see the list of names that I'm going to need to add while I'm adjusting these. So first of all, the jump is jump action. Go ahead and rename that one, and it should be spacebar. Yep, for that one. The move right / left, that will be right here. So let's go ahead and just rename that one. Add a left on there. There is the input access move forward / backwards. We'll just add a / backwards there. We also have a look up and down. So we just need to add a / down to that one. And actually we need to put, so look up, down. We also have the look left and look right, which should be, if you look at these, expand these out, you have mouse Y, which is up and down. The mouse X would be the left and right. So we can change turn to be look left, and make sure that's capitalized for each of the first of the letter of the words, right. So we now have a look left, right, we have a look up, down. And what we can do is compile here really quick and see that the list is getting shorter. We have one for the camera, which will be changing the view from first to third person. We have a ragdoll, which you hit by default is X, and it will put your character into a ragdoll. Shift action, or sprint action, that's the left shift, so that goes back and forth between sprinting. You have the rotation modes, which change whether or not the camera is following the character, or allows you to spin around the character, as far as the camera. And then you have the aim action, which is your right mouse. You have your walk action, which I don't remember the letter for that, but that'll make it so that you walk instead of jogging and sprinting by default. Or not by default. Actually, when you're pressing it, it'll go to that. The stance action, that is your crouch. So let's go and add some of those. We need to put them under action mappings, not axis mappings. And the reason that you would notice a difference between the action and the axis is the axis will actually take some sort of input. It's not just doing something based on pressing a key. It's taking mouse input and things like that. So it'll flip between, for forwards and backwards, this will be a 1, for instance, if it's going up, as far as going forward. And it's a -1 when you're going backwards. So there's a different kind of output that it's doing based on what you're actually doing with doing input into those mappings. So now we just want to do one where, for instance, you just press jump. All it detects is whether or not you are or not pressing the button. There's no other kind of input to that. We'll start with the camera action. We'll change that to be a V for view. Let's add a ragdoll action. That will be X. Let's add the select, actually let's do sprint action first. It'll be left shift. And we'll do select rotation mode, and it'll be _1. That's just the number 1. I'll copy this name so I don't have to type it again. We'll make that 2. And it'll be the number 2. Compile really quick. Now we're down to just 3. We have our aim action, which is the right mouse button. We will have the walk action, which I'll do as a /. And then we will do the stance action, which is the crouch. So we'll do that as the C, stance action. I always rename that later to crouch, so I have an easier time recognizing it. Okay, so now we should be able to compile and there's no errors in this blueprint. Of course, if we go back to the third person character and compile that one, you're going to notice that it's not very happy. It sees things are no longer mapped how it wants them, but that doesn't matter because we don't need these inputs. There's no code that we're going to be pulling from this, and we're actually going to be getting rid of this third person character altogether. So we don't need to fix that anymore. But first, let's go ahead and start by adding the unique things about the character blueprint, and that is the footprint component and that footprint interface. So first, add components, type footprint. Be able to add that and see it to the bottom here. Also under class settings, hit the drop down under add, under interfaces, under implemented interfaces, and type footprint there. And then let's compile and save this. So by default, let's just take a look at what's going on with the footprint component. There are no settings that are customized here, so we don't need to really worry about what's going on. If you look between the two, they are identical. We have everything that seems to be under the events section, the event graph, and the footprint graph. Look under the construction, you notice that there's no construction script, so we don't even have to worry about that. One thing that we could copy over right now is, let's go ahead and let's go back to the event graph under the third person character. Let's just drag out that current footwear, get that, select it, let's copy it. Take note, default category, the only thing we'll probably want to set is the current footwear to be a shoe by default. Go to the event graph under the ALS base character, right click, actually you can do Control V, and then you'll see current footwear. Right click on that and then create it, compile, and then change it from the barefoot default to the shoe. Now that's created and there's no other settings you need to worry about. You can go and delete that. So everything seems normal other than having a new variable there on the lower left. Another thing that we may do is, let's take a look really quick just to see what else is going on here. So there's this footprint graph. Let's see what it's referring to. So far it's referring to the mesh, which would be the same name. It is checking for an is owner. So we will want to go ahead and grab that and create that variable here in a moment. I think that will be the main thing that we have to worry about. One thing that will be a conflict here at some point is where it says E for an input here. The Advanced Locomotion System actually uses the E key, so that will be something that won't work properly. ALS uses it to switch the shoulder view that you're doing. Actually, it changes the footsteps as far as the right foot forward versus the left foot forward. So if you have this set to E whenever you switch your footwear that you're doing in the demo for the footprint system, it will actually change whether or not your right foot is forward or your left foot is forward in ALS. So we will fix that before we're done as well. So let's first begin by, you see here, this is owner variable. I want to go ahead and create that. So go back to the event graph for the third person character. And underneath of this current footwear that we had here, let's go ahead and drag out and do a get on it. And then we'll do a right click and copy. So we're going to copy that. You can hit Control C as well. Here in a blank area, the event under ALS, go ahead and paste it, right click, create that. Now defaults on everything, so you shouldn't have to worry about customizing anything, but it is now created. Don't have to create that later. Then go and delete that out of the event graph. So that should take care of everything with the event graph under the third person character. But let's go ahead and now we want to create the footprint graph here. So first what we want to do is get the name of it. So make sure you under the third person character, either click on it to where it lets you name it. We can right click and hit rename, and then Control C or right click and copy that text. We're then going to go over to the ALS base character, click new graph, paste that in there. Now we have a footprint graph. This will be just a blank one that we can go back to the third person character, and let's copy all the values of this. So make sure you're in the footprint graph, highlight everything, right click and hit copy, or you can hit Control C. Then come over here to the footprint graph and Control V it there. What I always do is right click on one of the nodes after I paste, when they're all highlighted, and do refresh nodes, compile and save. Because we created those variables, there are no conflicts. But we will want to change this E input that we're doing currently, because as I said, that will conflict later. But what would we want to use? Let's go ahead and do the number 3, because currently there's nothing using the number 3. So if you right click, do a search for 3, you'll see keyboard events 3. And first 2 change how you're rotating in ALS. And then the third one will change the type of footprint that the footprint system is leaving. I'm going to delete the E and just have the number 3 there before that starts. Okay, another thing that we're going to have to take care of is in the third person character. If you look at the top of the footprint graph, you see that it's casting to the third person anim blueprint. So that means there are some custom things happening in the anim BP for the blueprint footprint system. And so we will want to go and take a look at those and see what we can get. So under third person BP, animations, go ahead and open up that third person anim blueprint. Now here's the code that is actually causing sounds and things to happen when you're taking a footstep. There is a similar system happening in ALS that we will have to take a look at. So we'll look at how ALS is doing it and then get it swapped over to this. And it's also using on the update animation, which is currently in use on the ALS system. So we'll have to merge that into ALS. But really, all it's doing is setting the speed, checking if the character is in the air, and make sure it's valid before it's doing all that, so it doesn't do it for something that it can't set those values for anyways. So we won't even use this speed one because that's already being set in the ALS, but we will use this top ones. But we'll go ahead and copy everything just to be safe, and then clean it up afterwards. Under class settings, take a look. There's no interfaces. There are no components in an anim BP. And we've noticed that there's no kind of weird parenting that's happening between these. They're both the default things. Let's look under the anim graph as well. Very basic movement. There's nothing that we even have to worry about as far as happening with the movement system. These are all just a basic from one of the Unreal demos style of movement. So that will be very easy. But first, what we need to do is go to the event graph under the third person anim blueprint. This is the one for the footprint system. And we want to get some of these variables that are going to be created. What we want to do is just copy all these and we'll create them afterwards, but we do need to come back and reference some of these settings just to make sure that they're the same. So let's go to the folder where it shows the map and go to Advanced Locomotion V3. And then we want to go to the mannequin, so characters mannequin, and then under there you'll see the mannequin anim BP. Go ahead and open that up. And this should be the standard, what you're used to seeing inside of ALS. We're going to go to the third person character blueprint, the third person anim blueprint. Go to the event graph there, and let's highlight everything and hit Control C, and then go back to the mannequin anim BP that is the one for ALS, in the same place, the event graph, and go ahead and paste that there. Do a right click, refresh nodes just in case. They should be fine. And then we just need to take note that this is the event blueprint update animation. And that's this one right here. So I'm going to bring this somewhat close. Delete that custom event that it created. I'm going to drag these over a little bit. And then off of is valid, I'm going to drag and do a sequence. So first it does that one, then it will drop down and do this new section of code we just added. And then I will just clean this up a little bit. Okay, so now we have all the new things that were with the footprint system, and we can delete this last section that says setting speed because we're not going to use that. It is setting whether or not the character is in air, so go ahead and right click on that and hit create is in air. Let's look at that variable, and there's no customized settings to that, so this default one that is created should be just fine. Compile and save, and we'll see another variable is owner. That's at the very bottom left. Go ahead and select that. There's no crazy settings in there, so just right click and create that variable. Compile, and that takes care of all those errors. Okay, so now we should be able to first let's hit play and let's see if everything works. And I already know whether it's going to work, but I want you to see. Okay, now I don't even have the ability to move. And the reason is if you look over here at this third person character, it's using the old one. First of all, we've changed all those inputs here to where they don't even work anymore. But we're not even really using anything on this system anymore. Of course, if we just switch it over, let's see if it would actually work, because let's go to the ALS system, look at that footprint graph. You'll notice it's casting something to that third person anim blueprint, not to the ALS anim blueprint. Well, that's going to be a problem. And so there's two ways that we can deal with this. Because this one was very simple, we could just make a new cast to reference and replace this. Right? Or we could go through, and if it's a bigger system and there's a lot of things that you would have to replace like that, I would delete the old reference to the NMBP once I'm comfortable that I've gotten everything out of it, and it will give me an option to replace all references to it. So if you're doing a more complicated system, you may want to consider that. Of course, always make a backup, right click and duplicate it first so that you have access to all the previous references. So let's go ahead and double check. We've got our footprint input graph under the anim BP. There's nothing we need to do in this anim graph. We've copied all these settings over from the event graph. Let's see, what about footwear? I don't know that it actually uses this. So I think he left over some code from when he was testing things, because I don't see anywhere that this is actually referenced and this one is actually referenced, but I feel like we should create them anyways, just in case there's something that I'm not catching, rather than me assuming that that it was done in error. So drag these out here, do a get on them under the third person NMBP for current footwear and footprint decal. Select those and copy. Do Control C. And then the event graph under ALS, under the mannequin NMBP, paste that in there. We will just right click and create each of those variables. Let's go back and double check that there's nothing custom. Barefoot is the default, but instance editable is checked. We need to take note of that. And then for the second one, it's not default as well. So there is a array element that's been added to that. So let's go ahead and compile so we can see these settings. Check instance editable for the current footwear. And then under the footprint decal, it's a little plus next to the zero array elements. You see it adds one to it. So that is fine now. Compile and save. You can save the one that's the third person anim blueprint, but we're going to end up removing that anyways. So let's go ahead and close all of those. I'll just do a compile and save just to make sure everything is as it should be on the system. Let's go and close all of these blueprints. What I'll do first is I'm going to right click on the third person anim blueprint under the third person BP animation folder. I'm going to duplicate that really quick. And then I'm going to select the third person anim blueprint and hit delete. There's two references to it. In the ALS based character, some of the code that we copied it over was referencing this, and also from the old code, the ones that we copied from. And hit the drop down and choose the mannequin anim BP, replace those references. It's going to give me an error, that's fine. Let's go ahead and right click, fix up redirectors. Let's do a save all really quick. And then let's close Unreal, and we're going to relaunch it. Let's go back to third person BP under animations. Let's try deleting the third person anim blueprint one more time. Replace those references with mannequin anim BP. Okay. Save selected, and this time it let us do it. We'll go and fix up redirectors just to be safe because there's some things that have been changed in there, and do a save all. So now we are down to one anim BP. We still have the third person character. And if I were to, let's just go ahead and make a duplicate of it first. If I were to select delete on it, the only thing that's referencing it is this third person game, which is where we're at right now. So rather than sit here and actually delete this one, which we don't have to, but if it was a more complicated system that had a lot of references to that, you could delete it and have it replace all references. Because I'm not using this one, I'll just delete it for now. But keep in mind, you would delete it and replace all references if it had a lot more than just this one reference. So under this third person game mode, so world settings on the right, third person game mode, hit the drop down and choose the mannequin character. Go ahead and save all on that. Now let's hit play and see what happens. Okay, so now we have it to where you can actually move around. But let's run on these materials. Okay, it doesn't seem to be doing anything when we run on these materials. So, and also, you notice that on here the blood is going on the character. First, we go ahead and let's fix that really quick. So let's go ahead and open up that ALS base character. And then on the mesh over here on the left, you want to go to search details and type receive. And you'll see it here, it says receives decals. Go ahead and uncheck that. Compile and save it. Let's go back to that map and hit play. Now let's run over to the blood and see it doesn't receive those decals anymore. So no longer on top of the character. So I'm going to hit escape and close that. Another thing I want to do is look at the viewport on this. Can't really see the character. I do have a video if you wanted to merge and make these one. You could do that, but we won't do that for now. We'll just go ahead and leave this as it is, and you can watch that video if you feel like making it so there's not a mannequin character blueprint and there's just the ALS based character. And this is a child of the other one, so all it is settings in the mannequin. All right, so now let's make it so that we can actually hear the right sounds and have everything work properly. First, what we want to do is take a look at how these are being called at the moment. If you go to third person animations, or third person BP and then animations, let's go ahead and look at the third person walk. Now, because this one doesn't properly have the IK set up, let's go ahead and disable the post process there. You can see that it's properly walking. But this one's not actually used. We want to do the run because in that demo, so he doesn't even bother. We'll see what you can look at. See under notifies, there's nothing there. That means that he didn't put anything in there because he's not using it. So now let's go ahead and look here under the run one, which I'm sure that he did use. Okay. we got the right footprint and the left footprint. So this is actually what is calling the ability. It's not anywhere in the blueprints that are specifically calling it. It's the animation that is calling the notify to say, do a right footprint sound and then do a left footprint sound. And they're actually lined up right to when the foot falls onto the ground. So as that foot hits, you have a right footprint sound. It'll leave the mark there because it's on the right foot. And then the same thing, it's just hit for the left there. So what we're going to have to do is actually make sure that all of the animations that we're using in ALS have that system set up. And this is something that will be a little bit more of a pain than I think you will enjoy, but it will definitely be worth it in the end. So first, let's go through and let's filter the animations in here. So under Advanced Locomotion V3, Characters, Mannequin, Animations, we want to go to the filters, and then right under Animation, we need to choose Animation Sequence. This is now going to list all of the different animations that ALS uses. So first what we'll do is some of the standard ones. We'll select locomotion because these are going to be the most important ones that you're seeing. Let's see what they're doing first. So ALS LF, so that's left foot forward, walk forward. So we're going to look at that one. And you can see that it's doing a footstep noise. But there's a problem with this. Look at here, footstep anim notify, footstep anim notify. It's actually not looking at whether or not it's a right or a left foot. This is only looking at the fact that a foot is stepping. Now this is a problem because we can't quickly and easily swap out all of these animations by just changing the name of that reference. We actually have to swap these out and look at whether or not these are the right and left foot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up every single one of these and I'm going to swap these out. I'm going to show you on the first couple how to do this. And what I'll do is fast forward the video and make it so that if you want to slow it down, you could watch that section slowly. But all I'm going to be doing is looking at, so let's go through these first couple so you can see it. So I'm going to look at which foot is stepping. So this one, the first one is the left foot. So it's a left foot and then a right foot. So I'm going to right click on that footstep anim notify for the left foot. I'm going to choose replace with notify. I'm going to choose notify, skeleton notifies. I'm going to choose left foot. And then go to the next one, right click, replace with notifies, skeleton notifies. I'm going to choose right foot. And let's just verify that I did that. That was the left foot. That was the right foot. You notice the sound goes away because it's not calling it as simply. It's going to do it in the engine, but it's not going to do it here. One thing that you will need to keep in mind is if you choose not to do all of the animations, all the ones that are from the ALS system that are currently set up to do a footprint sound will still do that original sound. It won't sound correct. And it will kind of add sounds to the other from the ones that aren't customized to what you're walking on, and it won't leave footprints. So you will want to go through these and do a replacement of them. One thing that we will do in the end, and after I finish replacing all these, is we'll actually turn off some of the footprint sounds and things for these little turns because it's more of a distraction and it just doesn't seem as real when you have a lot of little sounds whenever the character's kind of doing a stutter step or fixing his footing. So we will go through and do that. But so this one we've done is right foot and left foot are both done on this one. I'm going to hit save. Let's go ahead and close that now. And I'm going to go through, I'm going to go from the beginning of this to the very end. We'll do one more where I step you through it, but we'll do the fast forward right after this. So you can hit pause, drag along this bottom area. You'll see, okay, the left foot, actually the right foot on this one is stepping at that point, and then it's the left foot. So I'm going to right click and do the right foot, and then we will do replace, and then the left foot. So right foot, left foot. And you have to keep in mind, he's walking backwards. So that's his right foot that's stepping there at that point. All right, so I'll get this going and then I will see you in a little bit at the end. Okay, so now I've done all the main ones under locomotion. Let's hit play first. Okay, so it's not doing the actual sounds yet. You'll notice some of the stutter steps left over from ALS are still working. But in the jump land and things like that. But it's not doing this one yet. So let's take a look at the code and see why it's not actually doing the sounds. So first what we'll want to do is undo that filter by animation sequence. And then let's go to the animations or mannequin folder in the animation blueprint. So the mannequin NMBP. Let's go and open that up really quick. And let's scroll out and make sure all of this is properly connected. So we have whether or not they're in the air. And then we have our notifies, which are actually being called. So this is what's being called whenever it's going to the right and left foot. Now this is an interface call, so you won't be able to see that directly. But let's find out where this is being called. What you can do is right click on that, find references. Now you'll just see the two right now for the right and left foot. But what we want to do is, let's do a deeper search here. And we can see that the component has an event and the footprint interface, which is the one we just looked at that was blank. And then in the NMBP, those are the two calls that we're doing. And this is the old one and the old character. Let's take a look at some of these and just see what's being called where and why it might not be working. So this footprint component is properly connected up. You can see under the ALS-based character, footprint component is there. But take a look at this. We'll notice that under the footprint graph, there was something that wasn't properly copied over. This is anytime you see custom event, that generally means that there was a duplicate, something that already existed there, an event that it didn't want to overwrite. And so it just creates one called custom event. So what we can do is actually go look at the character for the footprint system. Let's go ahead and minimize so many things, make it easier to tell where we're at. Okay, so we have the blueprint for the third person character. And this is the event begin play that we need to be doing this at. Because it's not setting the current footwear, it's not setting the mesh properly and linking it with the footprint component. So without that working, that's why it's not able to call that event properly and give us the sounds and the little markers on the ground. So let's go ahead and find event begin play. But to begin with, what we'll do is highlight all of that, right click and hit cut. And then on the left, if there's a search in there, go ahead and clear that out. Under graphs, go to event graph, and then we want to see event begin play. Double click on that. Now here's our event begin play. We can drag that up a little bit. And then to the right of it, Control V, that content in there. And what I'll do is select there shouldn't be anything. If you see any of these that are red, you can go ahead and do a refresh nodes on there. But go and delete that custom event. Drag out the begin play comment box a little bit and the begin play collapse function there, and then drag off event begin play and type sequence. Place it with however much room you want there, and then drag down then one to the set character owner. Go and compile and save that. Now let's go to the footprint map and see what happens. Well, there we go. So now we have sounds. Go and test to see if it properly. Okay, it's making noises on the material. It is leaving footprint markers on the ground. There we go. There's mud. Water. And blood. So at this point, it seems that all the general movements, but we still have some of these other sounds that aren't using the right ones. So the way that we're going to have to fix that, let's go ahead and save this NMBP since we made changes to it. Going also, let's do a go to the footprint map. Just hit a save all. If you have any of these that have been adjusted, and let's close all these extra windows that are there. And now in the Advanced Locomotion V3, we need to go to characters, then mannequin, then animations. Let's hit this filter for animation sequences again. Let's look at some of these other poses. You notice there's no, I'm going to put these here. There's no notifies that are happening in these. So I just want to run through each of them and make sure there shouldn't be any in these, but because there's not, we don't have to worry about swapping them out. Okay, so that whole folder of additive poses are all fine. This aim offset should be fine because it's not actually using, your aim offset is how it moves the head around. Not actually using the feet in that, so you should be fine with that. Let's look at get up. Okay, get up does have footprint sounds. So I'm currently under characters, mannequin, animations, getting up. There's 2 in there, so we'll do get up from back first. And you need to make sure that you're not doing some of these other. This notify is what it kicks off every time you start to enter the idle state. So it's just saying, okay, you're getting up and you're going to be idle. So let it know that, and it's getting up to a crouched position. But we need to look at the foot. So this is the left foot and then the right foot. So right click, replace with notify skeletal, and then make sure you just choose the correct left or right foot. Same thing, let's go to the get up from the front. So first it's doing the right foot and then the left foot. Now idles, these should, because they're idle, they're not moving their feet, but I just want to double check. Okay, so let's look and see what this one's doing. So this is the, it switches from the left foot to the right foot. But here how there's kind of multiple. We don't really want this because as you get more complicated sounds, it's just not going to sound right as you have all of these little stutter steps. So what we'll do is let's listen to which ones are most important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually remove this first one. I'm just going to do the main steps because the first one is just a slight step. And then we'll do, so I'm going to delete the first one and then let's look. First one's a right foot and then left foot. Because as I said, it gets to where it's just a little bit too much as you're working through this. You get just a ton of little sounds and it gets really noisy. Plus you'll have a lot of little foot markers on the ground that you don't really want. Same thing with this. We're going to get rid of that first one. And this is for the ALS CRF to LF idle. So crouching right foot to crouching left foot idle. I'm going to delete that first one. And then what I'll do is look at the first foot here. So it's doing the left foot and then right foot. We'll go through and verify that the rest of these, okay, so there is one for standing to crouching. So what I would do is, see how one foot doesn't actually change? Like there's nothing actually happening there. It's slightly pivoting the foot, but we don't want a noise for that. So I'm going to delete that first one. I'm going to do the sound actually when the foot is moving. So the foot is actually moving there. We'll right click and we'll do a right foot for that one. Okay, here we have a number of footprint sounds. So let's look at which ones are vital. So we don't need this first one. I mean, because what is happening? Nothing is happening there. So we don't want that first one. Okay, we want right foot here. We don't need that second one right there. That's just doing a needless noise. And then we want left foot for the second one. Okay, so now we have a bunch of notifies happening here. And so we'll want to go through and clean some of these up. So first, this is an unneeded noise. This first one is just a slight stutter step. It's just going to add a bunch of, it's just not going to sound right. So now what we'll do, I don't even really want that second one. It's just going to add a needless sound. And if you're moving around a lot, it's just not going to sound right. So let's delete both of those. And then we'll just move this one to the right foot. Yeah, let's go through the rest of these. Same thing. Stutter step. Don't need that. And we'll do the left foot. So this last one will be the left foot. And I'm going to delete all these other ones because if you were going there, you would hear it. It just, you could leave them in if you want and try it out, swap them out. But after doing it, you'll find that it's just, it causes a little bit of weirdness. So same thing with this one. We don't need these little stutter steps. But what we can do is the right foot stepping back for the last one. We're going to do that. Go ahead and delete the rest of these. So this one will do just the left foot. Delete the rest of them. This final one, the LS RF to CRF idle. Okay, this first one is no real change. We don't want that one. And then we'll do the left foot. Okay, so now let's take a look at transitions. Okay, we already did this one. Okay. Now, because I'm filtering, so here's what's going on. If I weren't filtering, you see how they're in separate folders. Just because I'm filtering, it's showing me both of these. I didn't realize that, but that's why you're seeing these ones are already done, because you see all of them under the subfolder when you're in there. This is for the ragdoll. I really am not sure if there's going to be any in here. Okay, here's one. So you're actually landing. Now, there's only one here. That's a problem because your feet are landing at the exact same time. So what we can do is add another one here. And at the same point, so you've added one. So you have one on one line, and we'll add right at the exact same spot. A notify, add notify, skeletal notify. We'll do the right foot. Line it up. And then the second one, change it to the left foot. There, and I have them lined up right together. Okay, these falling loops, you never have your feet touch the ground there. Here's a jump. So you need to decide when you do this jump, do you want your feet to actually make a noise? Because your steps that take you there will make a noise. And when you land, it'll make a noise. So I'm just going to remove these because it just isn't needed. And then here's the land. So you land with both feet. Problem is it's only on one. So what we'll do is add a second notify tier here. And then we'll right click on the top one. We'll do add notify skeletals. We'll do right foot there. Swap out the other one for the left foot. So you'll have 2 footprint markers when you jump off. Locomotion we've already done. Miscellaneous. This is just one for retargeting, so you don't need that. The pivots. This is where it can also get really noisy, but we want to clean these up. So this is going from left foot, pivot back. So when you're running backwards and then you stop. So what we can do is let's skip the, at the end there's a little stutter step. We don't want those. So the end ones, we'll remove those. The beginning, let's look and see. Right foot, left foot. Yeah, we can swap these out. So this first one will be the right foot. And if you find that you don't like, if it just seems like there's an extra noise that doesn't quite sound right when you're running backwards and then you stop during, in the left foot pose, then you can take out that second one if you choose. All right, so in the end, let's take out those little stutter steps first. And then let's look at which one is he's running backwards. That one he's doing his left foot first. And then the right foot. All right, take out the stutter steps at the end out. First one is the left foot and then the right foot. Okay, now we're on the ALS left foot pivot to the right. Okay, so that one did. That's doing the right foot first. And then the left foot. And then these last ones are pivots, so we are little stutter steps. We don't need those, so delete them. All right, we got a right foot pivot, so right foot, make sure. Okay, so it's doing the left foot first and then the right foot. Then we'll delete these stutter steps. Same thing here. Right foot and then left foot. And then stutter steps. This one is doing the left foot and then right foot. All right, and stutter steps. This one is doing the right foot and then left foot. And once again, delete those stutter steps at the end. All right, so for stopping, this is the crouching left foot stop. Let's go ahead and just do, let's go ahead and do those. So first it's doing the right foot and then the left foot. The next one is the left foot and then the right foot. If you ever get any of these backwards, you'll just notice that the footprint marker is showing up in the wrong place at the wrong time. So it will still put them in the right place, but you'll just notice that it's just placing them at the wrong time. So not a huge deal, but if you have one that's only showing one foot, then it might be an issue. All right, so this one is just a slight stutter step. I don't want I don't want that. I'm going to take those out. For that slice stutter step, we don't want that extra noise. That's the right foot and then the left foot. Once again, right foot and then the left foot. Right foot, left foot. All right, so right foot, left foot. And then when we get all these done, we'll run around and see how it sounds. All right, so I'm going to not do that first one because it's such a slight movement. I'm going to delete that first one. I'm going to change out the other one for the left foot. All right, so this one we're going to do left foot, right foot. All right, left foot, right foot. Delete that first one and just do the left foot. All right, we'll do left foot, right foot. Right foot and then left foot. All right, right foot, left foot. All right, this one's left foot, right foot. So this one, I'm just going to do the right foot. I'm going to delete that first one and do the right foot. This is not a significant move. All right, this one's left foot, right foot. I'm going to delete both of these. They're not significant enough. All right, so left foot, right foot. All right, left foot, right foot. And then turn in place. Okay, so this one's pretty tricky to notice because it's doing a turn in place. So what I'm going to do is not do the first one because it's more of a rotate and then it's lifting their foot up and then setting it down. So I'm going to delete that first one and that next sound's going to be just the left foot. look closely at this one. So it's more of a pivot. So what I'm going to do is delete this first one and just do the setting down of the back foot on the second one. So that'll be the right foot. This time it's going to be this. I'm going to delete the first one and just do the left foot. If I find I do any of these wrongs, I can find the particular animation and then correct it. Okay, so this one, the right foot knee is mainly pivoting, so delete the first one and then just do the right foot setting down. If this is significant enough to... What I'll do is... it seems to be pivoting, so what I'll do is just delete this first one and then just do the left foot on the second one. It'll be hard to say. We'll go through and take a look when we start moving around and see if it looks correct and if the footprints are being placed correctly. So I'm going to say the left foot never leaves the ground, and I'm just going to do the right foot this time. So delete that first one and then right foot. This one's tricky. So so it's doing a left turn. That's the right foot there, and then the left foot. Okay, so there's the right foot. I'm going to delete this first one. It's more of a foot is lifting off the ground. That'll be the right foot. And then the left foot. We'll just take out the one that has 3 and we'll make it just the 2 for this turn. All right, so I'm going to delete this first one and just have the right foot for the second one. So we'll just do the right foot and the left foot and delete the first one. These are really hard to see because you're not seeing the whole animation. You're not seeing it actually move. You're just seeing it pivot in place. This is a right turn. So we'll delete this first one and just do a right foot step here at the second one. All right, we only got 2 left to do. Okay, so we'll do the right foot and then the left foot. All right, so this will be left foot and then right foot. Okay, so I think that pretty much takes care of all the animations. So let's go ahead and hit play. Notice there's not a bunch of extra sounds. If we wouldn't have removed those extra ones, you'd be hearing tick, 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 as you do a turn in place. rather than just 2 simple steps. And you can hear when you do that stutter step, it's just one extra little kind of quick step. If you would have left a lot of those others in there, you'd have like 4 sounds in the space that you're hearing too. All right, so I think that so far is good for that. Let's go ahead and look now. I'm going to save everything and do a fix up redirectors. And then let's kind of take a look at some of the different blueprints and what they're doing and how we can add additional materials to this. So first, just I'm going to actually swap out some of these materials, and then let's see what happens. So I had that game textures pack from the marketplace that's free, and I'm going to first select one of these materials, and then I can see here's a sand material. I'm going to go ahead and drop that. So there's one that's just a ground dirt that's fairly light. I'm going to put that in place of the sand texture, and then there's a mud one. There's one that looks more realistic as far as muddy. And so what I'm going to do is select that one and then put the flooded mud there. So you can see the sand looks more like sand a little bit. This is purely cosmetic, but let's see what happens when we switch out a material. That's kind of a muddy material. Yeah, that's fine. The water material, we'll have to leave that for now. I don't have another water material in there to be able to choose from. We do have like lake water, but I'm not sure if that would actually look any better. So yeah, it's very, very difficult to see. It doesn't really look like water. We have ocean water as well, but I think we'll just have to be content with the current water that's in there. So go and go with the wet. And so that does match the footprints a little bit more. You can see that it's leaving the footprint marks on there. If you wanted to tweak the footprint colors, you could adjust the material for the mud. But we swapped out the material and it still seems to be leaving proper marks on the material. Also, here you can see the wet. It will not show footprints because when you're in water, it's not going to show footprints. So, all right, so now let's go through and start changing out some of the sounds, and we'll also add an additional material. So we've got mud, we've got water, sand, but let's go ahead and select all of these. I'm just control clicking all of this. And I'm going to drag, let's see if I got everything. Okay. I'm just going to drag that over so they're next to each other. I'm going to hit Control C and Control V. I'm going to drag it back. Okay. We'll need to fix the label there. Control C and Control V that. And this one's going to be now they have numbers on there, but this will be grass. The grass material. I'm going to switch these names so they're still correct. There we go. So now we've added another material. Of course, it's the same one. But let's now swap out and let's choose this grass, thick ground grass. There we go. So now we have a grass material. Now, if we run over it, there's a problem. It doesn't really recognize right away that this is grass. It's still treating it like it's mud. So we'll go through the process of adding grass by first going to the project settings. So edit, go to project settings. And let's take a look at under physics. Scroll to the bottom and you can see the different material types there are. So we've got sand, concrete, dirt, wet, bloody, and then there's the default one. But we want to choose after bloody, we want to enter grass. So select grass there and let's go ahead and close. And then in here, we need to look at how we're setting the material, what this is. So let's go ahead and open up that material. And then I'm also going to open up the mud one just so we can see that. And let's see if this is actually setting, because there's different places you can set the material. So you'll notice that the physical material isn't set here, because that mud one we just swapped out, we didn't have to set it and it was still working. So this is setting it somewhere else. So let's go ahead and close these. So it's not the material themselves. So let's look at the actual base that it's on. Well, here we go. You can see the base is where it's selecting the material. So we'll hit the drop down. You'll notice there's no grass selected there. Well, first we need to create a file. So on the one that exists, hit the little search icon there. It'll take you to this folder. And then you'll notice there's PM, which is physical material, _ dirt. So what you could do is just right click, and when you could create a new under physics, physical material, select physical material, and we're going to call it PM _ grass. And open that up. And then for the surface type, you need to choose grass, but it's not there yet. So let's close the project and reopen it so that it can detect that that is all there properly. Because right now, until you close the project and reopen it, it's not going to pick up those new physical materials. And if you had a bunch of other ones that you wanted to put in there, you could put them all in right now. Just put in your total list of all physical materials that you're going to want to use. If you're going to have an impact system, you may want to pull the physical materials off of that and then realign all of these materials to match that, or add them all manually to the existing list. So now let's go ahead and select that base. Let's scroll down. It's currently dirt, and now it's grass. But we need to go back, so go ahead and hit the search here and make sure, because it wasn't listed before, hit that drop down and choose grass. Well, if we run on here, let's see what happens. Okay, it's silent. So we need to open up the code and see why you're not getting any sound in there. So under the footprint blueprints, let's go ahead and go to, footprint, blueprints, and then footprint component. And let's just do a little bit of searching here to see what's actually happening. We want to go to the functions where it says spawn footprint. And then look at the very beginning here. It's going in and setting some variables, and then just branching off of a switch of all the different material types. Well, we now have a new one that's called grass that we just created. So this is a problem because we don't have anything connected to it. So it's not going to make a sound, and it's not going to make a footprint. Well, we need to decide which one of these does it match up most closely to. And so let's break down what's actually happening with these various types. So first, it's playing a sound. It's choosing here, there's a sound cue for sand. It's playing that. And then it's setting the footprint type, foot state to sandy. You can see they have different ones. They have muddy, they have wet. And that actually changes. For instance, wet will last a certain number of steps. Muddy, I think, lasts like 30 steps. So it treats them a little bit differently as far as how soon they wear off. It puts that your current step is 0, so that you're just starting. It doesn't start you out later. It'll make it so it does the full number of steps from once you stepped in the mud. And then here, it's going to a data table. So let's go ahead and look at what this data table is. All right, so here the data table is setting the various types of footprints that you can have. You can hit that 3 key and swap between barefoot, one type of shoe, which is a boot, animal footprints, and then a regular shoe type. So if you are sandy or muddy, it will take a look and actually count away. Now, so this is the steps on top of the material. So it's actually going to put footprints on the water. or not on the water, but on the mud. So when you're standing on sand and muddy, it leaves little footprints there. And so this is determining what kind you would put. And then once your foot state is to wet and your current steps are 0, in another place in the code, it will then go through and do the number of steps after you leave that material. So that's why you get wet footprints when you're walking away from it, but not while you're on that material. And this counts away at the current footprint number and then places it on the ground. Same thing you have for wet. It doesn't do anything while you're standing on it. Here, this is your default. So by default, it goes to this one, which picks your foot state. If your foot state is clean, it's not going to do anything because you don't have anything to leave tracks with going forward. And then if you're muddy, it does. Here's where you would set 30. So it's doing 30 footsteps for muddy. You could actually change that to a lower number if you wanted to have less footprints after stepping in mud. And then it will continue to leave those footprints on the ground until it hits 0. Once it has 0 left, so you've done your full 30, it changes your state to clean and then sets your footprint steps back to 0 for the muddy. Here is just going through and picking your footprint type and then placing it on the ground. And this is actually replicated, so it will work in a network environment. So that is how that is calling to the server and then doing a multicast of the decal out. And here just does something very similar, but with the various material types, whether you're sandy, wet, or bloody. If you are bloody, it treats that a little bit differently because it puts it in the bloody state, which does the footprints on the ground at that time. It has those footprints on top of blood. And so you set that there. So we want to add one for grass. Do we want to leave footprint marks on the grass? Probably not, right? I would think that grass would not be something that you really need to put footprint marks down on. If you do want to, you could treat it like these other ones and you could drag it in there, but they're not sandy, they're not muddy, they're not wet. And so I really think what we could do is put a custom sound to the grass and then bring it into this default check of whether or not it's muddy, sandy, wet, or bloody. So let's go ahead and copy. So the one that's going currently to default and to concrete, let's go and make a copy of that. And so highlight all of those. So the node itself, the variable, and then the reroute. Control C that, and then Control V. Now I'm going to move up this other one up a little bit, so because we're going to add these right in between that and the bloody. And then let's drag grass down to it. And let's see where it's storing these sounds. So it's here, they're stone, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and drag this over to the current foot state. What I could do is let's make a little connector here. So what I'm doing is double clicking on the line to create that. And then I'm just going to drag up to that just to keep it clean and so it doesn't go underneath all of those. Here, so the thing, it will do the grass footsteps correctly. That's fine. We could have a foot state. You know, we don't have a grass one. But let's go ahead and find the sounds here really quick for this. So click search and you see stone. So there's a stone sound. Well, you need grass ones. So let's go through really quick where you can get some of these types of sounds. One website that's pretty cool is gamesounds.xyz. This has a lot of open source and royalty-free sounds that you can use for your game. I mean, this is huge amounts, hundreds of gigabytes. Actually here, 100 gigabytes, 83.8560828. I think that, I don't know how it's smaller. These Sonus ones are actually bigger than that. So I'm not sure how they're getting that size. But let's go through and let's see. I'm not sure if there's a grass sound in here. There are footprint sounds. But you'll just need to go through and find a sound of footsteps on grass. I already have some, so I'm not going to go through this, but you could go through and find different sounds for footsteps. See if you find one that has grass. If not, find another open source or some place that you can legally get grass. If you're just testing, you could pull a sound off the internet. But you just need to keep in mind that if you do post this as a game for people to have and you use something you don't have legal rights to, you could hit legal problems. So I did find a grass set of sounds on a site that lets me use these in the game. So let's go ahead and I'm going to make a folder under sounds called grass. I'm going to drag these sounds in there. And what I did is I took one audio file, took it into Audacity, and pulled out the individual sounds. So let's go ahead and play on one of these. So they're just slightly different. So we now have grass steps sounds 1 through 8. I'm going to select the first one and do create a cue. So this is going to be footstep grass underscore cue. Let's open that up. And you'll see that there's the one sound, the one that I created off of there currently. Let's go back to the list. I'm going to select, so click and then hold down shift and click the last one. I'm going to drag all of these over and just put them underneath. Now, I want these to randomly play. So what I'm going to do is drag off this first one that I made. I'm going to type random. And it lets me drag inputs into this. So it's randomly going to pick from this list. I'm going to hit some more inputs so I can put each of these into there. And then I'm going to connect that last node to the output. All right, so now I have all these sounds. If I play on the cue, you can see it just picks a different one from the various outputs that are available. All right, so now what we want to do is go back to this footprints component. And for the drop down here where it says grass, the one that's leading to the grass here, I want to hit the drop down and choose grass. And make sure you choose the cue because that's the one that's going to show the various different sounds. Well, now let's run over grass and see what happens. And this isn't leaving. I mean, if you wanted to leave a green mark, generally when you walk in grass, you don't see marks. If you want to leave a mark, you could have those kind of extend off like some of the other ones are in the component and have them leave marks on the ground, but that'll be on a material by material basis. You'll just have to determine which ones are correct. But for now, I just want it when I walk on grass, it sounds like I'm walking on grass. The same thing with the wet footprints. Let's go and do a test really quick. I found some water material type sounds. So let's go ahead and look where wet is going here. Search to find that in the browser. And there's just not a lot of variation there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a folder called wet. Open that up, and once again I found wet footprint sounds. I'm just going to bring those all into that folder. I'm going to create a cue. No, I don't want all of those cues. I'm actually going to delete all of those really quick. Let's click the first one because we don't want to have tons of extra cues. So create one cue, and this is going to be footstep wet. Okay. Open that up, and then let's drag open up 2 through 10 on this one. We'll drag it into the queue. Okay, so we'll drag that first one off. Once again, do random. And we'll see how this sounds. So far we've created all of the necessary blueprints, add the components and things like that to ALS. And when you run around, it is properly showing the materials on the ground. And it's playing different sounds. So you've seen how I've gone through and added different different sounds here. You can see that there's just a slightly different... See how there's that sound with the stutter step? That's where you may want to go through and on that stutter step, just remove that second one. Because it just doesn't always sound right. But that's the wet sound. There you go. And you could create variations. You can make them quieter in that cue. That's the nice thing about a cue is if I wanted to make the whole thing quieter, I could change the volume multiplier, let's say to 0.5. I think my foot step sounds are too loud. And now when I run on the water material, it's just a little bit quieter. You'll just want to blend it into what sounds about right. So that's pretty much going through and adding. I think we've got everything in there. If you followed all these steps, you should have the system fully working inside of ALS. And you can play around with it. It's a good building off point. Later, I could go into some other guides, perhaps of changing out the materials and things that are actually left on the ground and customizing those, maybe adding other animals. But what you could do is if you know how to create the material itself, you could just add, similar like they have other animals here, add various shoe types. Maybe you have a pirate who needs a peg leg. Well, you could have one foot be a shoe and the other one be a divot, from the peg leg. So that would be various things that we could do with this type of a system. But I encourage you for the price. I mean, what is it, $5.99, that you can get this on the Unreal Marketplace. It is a steal. It does a very good job. And I think it's worth it if you're wanting to improve the sound system and leave footprint marks. And it is fully replicated and networked, and something that's worth checking out. Well, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you join our Discord, because our Discord's where people throughout the whole week are having conversations, asking questions, and just really focusing on game development in Unreal. Also, we have a Discord a Patreon that you can be a part of. If you want to help support me, one thing I do is I purchase assets with what I receive off of Patreon to do tutorials and to demo. So if you want to help support this channel and you want to help me be able to make future videos, I would encourage you to go check out my Patreon, which will be in the description. And then just make sure you subscribe and like this video so that you get notifications of when future videos come out. I'm trying to do at least one a week on a different topic. And then I do some fixes and various smaller videos. And I'm starting to do some live streaming as well. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you join the Discord server, because I always give notifications of when I'm going to go live. And that is in the description. Thank you very much for being a part of this. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully it's something that's helpful to you, and it will help you get this system put in, because this is something that by hand takes a bit to do, and he's done a very good job of implementing it. And I think it is well worth the dollars that you put into it. So thank you very much, and I'll see you at the next video.